I'm an Aquarian. I'm January 20th.
Oh boy, all of this. Now, and the interesting thing here, and I'm going to suppose that um, Zoom is, oh, there it is there. So I can see you. And if I talk, interesting thing here, and I'm going to suppose. All right. Let's see here. Hold on. Let me figure out how to do this. I'll mute this real fast from my computer. Oh, there it is there. So I can see you. And if I talk, there we go. All right. Wow. I can see what is actually happening. It is on YouTube, is on Zoom. What we're about to do, Kyler and myself are going to have a conversation on a couple of things. This started off with a question about water, but it also relates to and spills over into the subject of cooperative, I want to say, a reclamation of value. This is really what it is. The cooperative the reclamation of value, the return of ownership of your own value through cooperative activity. That's really what it is. And because we talk about empowerment, we've come together with a common goal of peace and prosperity and things like that. But the missing link, as I have seen it at least, and given where I have been over the last year in consciousness, the missing link is a mechanism whereby the empowerment can be distributed to everyone. See, everyone has been looking for folks to someone to give you something. What is the new financial system? We're waiting for someone else to come around to provide and bestow something on the masses, and the masses are sitting around simply just waiting and waiting and waiting. And the people who are doing the bestowing, they're not really being inconvenienced by their by any kind of lack of resources to do what they want to do. They have the resources and they have the quote unquote controls over them. So here's 90 some odd percent of the population doesn't. So Kyle and I, we just kind of got started, and I think we struck a nerve, and I think it'd be great for us to talk about this. First of all, in terms of some of the things that we've talked about, if you got questions that are right off, just let's start with that. We don't have a script, and we'll just go from there.
Yeah, I mean, we're new to this relationship, so I'm just learning the value of your water systems and what it has the ability to help heal our planet and how that is. I grew up farming in the Okanagan Valley in British Columbia, cattle farm. I live in a very heavily orchard area. It's the Italy of the West, if you will.
Oh my goodness.
Orchards everywhere. The Okanagan Valley is full of orchards of all fruits: peaches, plums, pears, apples, grapes, vineyards galore. Vineyards everywhere through here. It's a huge tourism industry, and we're struggling with drought and water. We have major lakes and major forest fires happening right now, and the vineyards specifically are being affected for the production, so much so that in the last few years, some of the vineyards are using the smoke as a marketing and smoky flavored wines.
Okay.
So I was reading your website this morning from that link you provided, and I saw the comments from that farmer in Australia. I read that comment and it kind of lined up like I'm in vineyard heaven here. Around here, I'm surrounded by vineyards. I look out, there's orchards and vineyards all through this valley.
Okay.
It's all very fertile farmland. We're missing a high quality water system. And I, as an Aquarian, have a deep belief that water needs to be purified naturally. I use water systems, Sentivia and Meakin water filtration systems myself. purify my water for my health, I potentially wouldn't be on planet Earth today without filtering my water the way I've learned through. Do you know the company Niken?
I'm familiar with, they do magnets, related
Magnets,
products,
yes.
correct?
That water system I showed you yesterday,
Yes.
Niken is the grandmother system to the one that I have. It's called Sentivia. Niken is a Japanese water filtration company,
Mhm.
and their systems are a passive water system where they have designed it so that it filters water in the essence as if it was rainfall that hits the top of a mountain and filters through earth and naturally filters through all the layers of earth and comes out as a spring. That's how they've designed their system, essentially.
Okay.
I could use some more knowledge on it, but my experience is I used to deal with horrible acid reflux, chronic pancreatitis that almost killed me. I was in the hospital in my early 20s. From the time I was 14 to the time I was 27, I dealt with chronic diseases that almost took my life.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors gave me my death certificate, said you've got 2 months to 2 years to live at 22 years old, and I had a 2-year-old daughter and a baby, 6-month-old daughter. I said, no, I won't take your systems. I won't take your poison medicines. I won't take it. I got out. I revamped my diet off of water, plants, and yoga, and I turned my life around. And I'm still here today at almost 39 years old in January. And I attributed most of that to choosing a water system that helps me get there. And now what you have designed, brought to this world, I've been searching for something like that for systems within our farming communities, within our communities all the time. I
Mhm.
want this in every single community.
Well, I'll tell you this, the more fundamental choice that you made back then, and you're still a youngster, was to live, first of all.
Yeah.
See, here were the people entrusted to help us either restore health if we're not healthy and all those things. And what were they doing? Pronouncing the end of your life as though they had the power to actually say and make that type of prediction. And see, the thing is, what they didn't say, if you keep following our advice. Okay. So the first thing you did was not stop following that advice and then choosing life. And the other thing is what you're exercising is what and what we as a, if I want to call it a species, quite frankly here to do is to realize that it is us. It's not the pedigree, it's not the economic status and situation, etc. The ability to change our life exists within each one of us. And the only way we keep doing the same things is to keep thinking the same things, even about ourselves as well as about each other. So I applaud that, first of all. The Yeah, our vortex generators, in fact, here I'm planning this drive out to New Mexico next week now, but I could conceivably be just planning to take a drive up there and kind of hang out there, because that's
I
really
would welcome it.
that's it. Well, it'll happen now. We know each other now, and you're not that far away, and I just got my passport redone, so we're looking to go up. It's not a big deal, but in this particular area, are they typically on wells? Are they, or are they tapped into streams? What are they? What are they doing there?
For the majority of it, it's all on city water systems.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is good.
But
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
There is a wealth of water underneath this valley.
Sure.
There's underground rivers under this valley, supposedly. There's what I was told by my father from an elder that he had talked to is they're under about 400 feet underneath this Okanagan Valley. There's a river that flows,
Okay.
and it's all volcanic where we are.
Mm,
We sit directly above. So if the Pacific plate subducts under Vancouver Island and comes under British Columbia,
hmm
we sit on this above that plate with a whole bunch, like there's hot springs around here. There's tons of
hmm
hot springs through this area, and like all the valley, it's all volcanic,
Uh-huh.
all everywhere, old ancient volcanoes. So there's water proliferates below us, and the Okanagan Valley itself is highly fertile. Ooh, excuse me, and it almost fell over. The Okanagan Valley is highly fertile, and when the settlers came here back in 1800s, they looked upon this valley and they looked at it as the place to bring the cattle and settle in. Indigenous speak of the valley in their terms as there's a placard in Armstrong, British Columbia, where I grew up,
hmm
on a creek called Fortune Creek. And the placard talks about how the Indigenous looked at the valley, and it was they saw it as the valley of gold and wheat, basically. Now, when the settlers came, it was a swamp, basically, a swamp and like high level lakes.
hmm
And most of the valley was an old swamp, and then it, like, long ago, it was one very large lake system up here, but now it's become a swamp. Well, when the settlers came and they built the highways and stuff that go down to Washington in a place called Okanagan Falls, they built a dam and they drained it so that they could farm it, so they could access the soil. The soil is highly fertile, so now it's controlled by this dam just north. Do you know Osuyus?
Where?
Osuyus?
No, I don't. Mm-mm.
Osuyus is the border town that goes from the center of British Columbia to the US.
You know something? I may have been through there. Some years ago, I went to a talk that was given by Dan Winter on Salt Spring Island.
Oh
And
yeah.
and so I flew up. I lived in Arizona at the time, so I flew up to Spokane and met a good buddy of mine who lived in Spokane. And then we headed north, and we went through some little border crossing in the center part of between Washington and BC, and then headed west to Vancouver and then Vancouver Island. So I know there are not many of those little towns
No,
like
there's
that.
not.
Well, then I probably have actually been through it, as it turns out.
Was it dry and deserty, or was it more fertile and humid and
No, I think it was
wet?
more dry because
Dry.
we visited with a guy who was considered, and I don't know his status, his physical status now, but he was considered an alchemist. We actually where we actually took some gold with us, which he used to produce some ormus, so monoatomic gold. And so that was one of the other, that was our, before we went up to Canada, we stopped there, and he was in the middle of nowhere, Washington, if you know what I mean. But it was a very, while it was cold, this was when, I mean, it was below zero in some cases, but it was definitely an arid type of place.
Yeah, it sounds like it would have been Osuyus. So Osuyus is it's a border town, like half of it's in BC, half of it's in Washington, kind
Right.
of thing.
Yeah.
And the lake that runs through there, Osuyus Lake, goes across the border.
Ah, okay.
So from that point, that is Canada's only true semi-arid desert.
hmm
And from that point north, it's all very quite deserty. It's very dry through here. We have cacti that grow here, and scorpions, rattlesnakes, that kind of thing.
Oh
Black
my
widows.
goodness. Wow.
Yeah, it's
Do they
very
go south for
dry.
the winter? Are they snowbirds?
They are, because my parents are snowbirds. And they go to Arizona and they're
Oh,
on their
heck
way down,
yeah,
and they're probably hitching a ride with them.
for sure.
I On that note, I just they were sitting outside, my girlfriend and I, Erin, and I looked down on the bench around their campfire, and there's a 3 to 4 inch praying mantis sitting there.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
huge. We
Mhm.
got a video of it. It's beautiful.
Wow.
It's a beautiful area. It's a I don't know if you remember the term for British Columbia. They're advertising for people to come to BC. Beautiful, beautiful, supernatural British Columbia.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, that's where we are. From here, I can drive an hour in any direction and be in a completely different environment, from rainforest to high
Mhm.
mountain peaks to valleys to desert to farmland, everything. It's a beautiful, beautiful place here. Highly sustainable if it's done right. But right now is our water systems are being tapped to the max because there's so much farming done because it's so dry, and we haven't been getting the rain that we used to when I grew up. I've been in this valley my whole life, and
So,
it's getting dry. We just had a massive forest fire just
yeah.
20 kilometers south of us that almost had to evacuate the large city, 100,000 people of Kelowna, British Columbia.
Hmm.
You know that, yeah, it was bad, and it just flared up and took off with a major windstorm. And within 24 hours, it went from 60 something hectares up to 10,500 hectares
That was burnt.
burnt,
Hmm.
burning and raging. It jumped, the fireballs jumped 3 kilometers across the lake and lit the next valley on fire. And it was running down the valley just south of me here, about 13 kilometers, and it was burning. The Kelowna International Airport had to be shut down. There was so much smoke. I couldn't see my neighbor's house.
Well, we got some of that smoke here. I mean, the sky was pink each morning we don't, there were no fires by us, but the smoke certainly showed up. I didn't even
Yeah.
know that's how I learned there were fires going up in British Columbia.
Yeah, like chunks of bark falling from the sky
Hmm.
on fire. And it was just, what happens is it just spirals. It creates its own firestorm, and it feeds itself. And then
Hmm.
it was an insane. I've lived in this valley my whole life, and it's only been the last 10 years where it's getting really, really bad. It's because everything is being sucked dry because it's not efficiently being used. And I'm
Uh,
looking for a solution, and I believe you are the solution
well,
to a lot of
right
this.
right off the bat, I mean, outside of the fact that it's municipal water and it's treated and all the things that are
Yeah,
associated with the treatment per se, the other has to do with the state of the water. Even if it were or were not treated, we have customers who have wells who have had phenomenal changes, and when I say changes, I'm talking improvements in different processes relative, whether it's to their farming, the quality of their produce, the health of their animals, etc., simply by putting a vortex unit on. But the activity of a vortex, and in a situation like this, with more and more stress on the water supply itself, the simple act of, especially if you are growing something or maintaining livestock, and of course, I just say life, because if you're growing
yeah,
something, that's life.
yeah.
If you've got livestock, that's life. And needless to say, that means that if you put one on and you're still life. So ultimately, it's doing something to the state of the water that makes the water more efficient at being water. Sometimes we talk about wetter water as an example. Everything is motion. And so vortex
That,
generators work by changing the direction and velocity, and in so doing, the coherence of the motion itself. It's the difference between having a incandescent light and a laser, for example. It's coherence, it's directionality. It's
okay.
getting, you get smaller water molecules, for example, you get denser, you get more rotational speeds,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
therefore you end up, as a result of that, you get less friction, okay, as the water is passing through something. And with the smaller cluster sizes and less friction, you get better absorption and uptake. So you're getting
Yeah,
better
yeah,
penetration through your root walls. You're getting better uptake through cell walls. You're actually increasing the amount of oxygen that is available. We're not injecting oxygen into the water volume, but due to vortexing, we are liberating oxygen that is
yeah.
bound to other compounds.
And roots need that. Roots need
Absolutely.
oxygen.
Well, roots need it, but microbiology needs it. See,
Exactly. Yes.
we are a
Yeah.
society that has forgotten, apparently, that all life has a purpose, and the
Yes.
purpose of life
Yes.
is the benefit of all life.
Yes.
And so the thing about it is that when we take a position that, well, we're going to cut this little level out, the microbiotics, the bacteria and stuff like that, they don't have attorneys, they don't have union representatives, they don't have those kind of things, or people apparently are supposed to talk for them. We have some authors, etc. The universities, I don't know if you go by our practices, but we have these practices that have been in place for a long time before you or I ever came to this planet, where
Yeah.
they were doing antibiotics, for example. Someone got, and what is an antibiotic? It's against life, and it's against life that doesn't speak, so to speak, but still has
Yes.
a purpose in
Yes.
the chain of what life is. And so they have a purpose. They do certain things that really require small size, okay, in order to do the things that they do where they do them. And so when our practices that we are now so spreading and spreading and spreading so much of, when those practices were begun, people didn't have an appreciation that the environment was the issue. It wasn't the little bug that they saw.
Yeah.
They're sitting around, okay, well, let's kill this bug off. And they are in have no concept of the environment that the bug is in, and the oxygen density, the oxygen availability, things like that. We know aerobic, we know anaerobic, we know something called fractional aerobic microorganisms that can actually change their metabolism in the absence of oxygen. But when, and I say not oxygen in total absence, but of sufficient amount of oxygen. And
Right.
so when we restore the sufficient amount of oxygen to the environment, then that uh, facultative anaerobe changes back to natural oxygen respiration. When they
Mm.
go off of oxygen respiration, because they can change their pleomorphic and they can change their metabolism, they can still exist in an oxygen deficient state, but they are under stress and they then
Mhm.
appear as toxic. Okay.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
so it's all in, and then someone comes in and say, okay, you guys are toxic, let's kill you off. When in essence, the environment that they're in is the one that's oxygen deficient. And so they give us stuff, or give people who follow their advice stuff that basically makes oxygen even more deficient.
Yeah.
It's
And,
a cycle that is
and
not broken until you see differently.
thank you for that. And that's how I see the human race as well. Like we're kind of that same package, is like we're toxic in a way that we're not in a balanced environment where we're healthy. So we're becoming toxic. And if we're not in that state of toxicity, then we can be in balance with our Mother Earth. It's kind of
And
the same.
It's the
Same.
same type of cycle. It's a
Yeah,
cyclical thing,
exactly.
and it's either a down. Well, you can talk in terms of spirals too. We're either on a declining spiral or an inclining spiral. Now, what is not noticed in that respect has to do with what we're saying in this microbiology situation. It also applies to consciousness itself.
Yeah,
And so
100%.
we embrace a certain state of consciousness. And when we embrace that state of consciousness, then life is always mirroring back to us what we put out. And see, we in our society have presumed that there's certain things that are expendable in order to do this thing called life here. Yeah, and a lot of this has to do with money and abundance, and influence and power and stuff like that. And the point is that we have standardized on making, I'm just going to say this, love ancillary, optional, whatever you want to say, expendable. There are reasons why let's set love aside and do these things. Oftentimes it's to chase money or try to take it or something. But we have not acknowledged, even though anyone listening or to this right now, I think they will agree that we have basically acknowledged that love and what we're doing are not always going to be the same thing. Love is not always going to be there. In fact, we've justified not loving because we've judged someone or whatever it is. We can't love them. Well, what we're not seeing and what we're missing is that when you pull love out of your own equation, you are the first loser and everything else that happens, and there can be nothing but a decline in the quality of the experience, the quality of the environment, the quality.
Yeah.
If love is not present in our actions, if we're not conduits for it, then there will be a decline in the quality of our experience.
100%. I absolutely agree. Thank you
So,
for voicing that, because it's something I talk on all the time. We got love it all, send love. I'm constantly love it all.
yeah, absolutely.
And then that frequency of love, that high frequency registered, it sends out to the universe, and then the energy responds in kind and presents itself in feedback. Like me sending out my love is how I found you.
See,
as far as I'm concerned.
And there's a feedback loop that life is always giving us a feedback loop. And I'm going to say we're going to roll, but I need to take a 2-minute time. Can you just sit? I'll be right back.
Yep.
Relief, no pretense here. We just go with the flow, so to speak.
Yeah. Exactly.
That is one of the things that has really captured my fancy, my attention when I talk about this cooperative system, because we have actually had no way. I think people actually know the things that we just said. They realize that there's a degradation. There's a downward trend
100%.
when love is not and you know, the degree of the down is subject to the individual, whatever whatever that one or collective are doing. You know, it could be this way, it could be that way, or whatever, but it's going to be from the standpoint of a degree or a way of fulfillment. You're getting a decline. And you see, much of our social issues of the moment have to do with lack, have to do with insufficiency, insufficiency of function, insufficiency of satisfaction, insufficiency of available capital, and is indebtedness, so to speak. The vast majority of this population is living in a state of insufficiency of one form or another, including insufficiency of health. And so all of it, to me, is connected to the degree to which the person loves. Okay. And I'm not, this is not an indictment on the person in the here and now. It's not an indictment at all. This is an observation, first of all.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
and the point, though, is that we have certain ideas that are active within our consciousness, which they were passed on by someone not necessarily before us. They could have been our parents, they could have been
Yeah.
our teachers, but
Generational.
it can be cultural in the sense that every word that we let into our consciousness and we don't vet for its truthfulness, then that word, that idea, that concept will become active, and it'll become an active part in our life. There's not a trend that's just up or just down. Okay. There's an overall trajectory of a person's consciousness, but from moment to moment or life to life, it's going in whatever way it's going. But the fulcrum of that direction, of that trajectory, is the degree to which a person is actively loving. Because what I see now is, in the same way that electricity and magnetism are two, you can say, the aspects of the same thing.
Yeah.
So is
Yeah.
love and truth. If you're not loving yourself, you're getting a distortion in your consciousness. If you're
Yeah.
not loving, you've got a downwards trend. And we have cultivated that. We've taken it out of virtually everything. It's certainly not in how we exchange money. Well, I don't care whether, here's someone and they're in this particular situation. We got to kick them out. Our societies are set up to take from each other. We have dictums.
Yeah.
We talk about other people's money. We talk about trying to get something for nothing. We have these concepts that are part of our thinking until such time that they're not. And the only way that they're not is that a person chooses to start sticking holes and pricking holes into these ideas, and then letting them go away. We got to become
Exactly.
pricks.
and that's what I've been doing. If something comes my way and it doesn't resonate with my level of frequency of thinking of love, then I'm poking holes in it. I'm probing and I'm asking questions and I'm driving it back to where it came from. If with love, frequency of love is its most powerful frequency out there, right?
Yep. And so I see a true opportunity for humanity. Absolutely. And it's a decision that each person must make on their own. But even as I learned about this cooperative system, and I'm going to say something about it to whoever's watching this, and in the possibility that it has to allow each to, okay, like our products cost what they cost, and all of our habits have actually gone into life, provides that feedback loop we have simply not acknowledged that our lack of loving has been part of why we're in that state of need, to the extent that we are. Okay. Not everyone is the same. Everyone is wherever they are relative to how loving they are, simply because
Exactly.
it's the best way to be. So again, there's no indictment on anyone. The point, though, is that from a fiscal standpoint, from a behavioral standpoint, we have we have made habits. So I call it habituation. We have habits that have, from our thinking as well as from our behaving, we've spent much of our lives, we've been convinced to literally do things, set what we might love, might want to do in life, might be moved to do or to be, because every life has a purpose,
Mhm.
whatever it is.
I tell
I
people
think
this
our
all the
purpose,
time.
part of our purpose is to discover who we are. Is to so it's not to not
Living on
have.
purpose.
Say what?
Living on purpose.
Absolutely, you're living on purpose, and ultimately you're discovering your power. You're discovering your power not only to mess things up, but you're also, especially when when love is active in there, you start noticing what you've messed up. You see what's wrong with
Yeah.
that. And then you
Yeah.
start doing something. You learn how, you start exercising your ability to imagine something better,
Yeah.
and then speak it and act it into existence.
Absolutely.
So here we've got 90+% of our population living at subsistence levels in around the world. We're getting at each other on these particular subjects, and yet around the world, all these people are having the same issue of insufficiency, ill health, low levels of optimism, low levels of joy, and the thing is, what's going to all of those, that's love. We think that the biggest weapon, oh, I need a bigger weapon, or we think, you can spend, I don't have any judgment about people having Rolls Royces and stuff like that, or hypercars and stuff like that. You can buy a car that'll do what, 250 miles an hour, and where the hell are you going to drive it? You can buy a Rolls Royce. Some select few can buy a Rolls Royce that's cost $32 million, and
Ridiculous.
where are you going to drive it? But see,
Yeah.
all of this is a consciousness, because the world is not changing that way. And so, and I'm not saying that they are wrong to or right. It's not a right or a wrong. It's basically a situation of learning that our consciousness, that we are equals, irrespective of whether we have funds, whether we have a home or not. We are already equals. They got folks wanting to fight for equality. That's
Right.
well, the point, it has to assume that you're not already equal. So
Yeah.
you will never resolve the quest for equality. You're already it.
I know.
How about
It's so easy. It's so simple.
The issue is a quest for quality, a quest for quality of thinking, quality of behaving, quality of living, and a quality of treatment of oneself.
Absolutely. It starts from within.
You treat yourself the way you want others to treat you, and then they start to do that. People, this is how backwards we've got. Okay. So what I loved about the cooperative system is that while our present ways and habits of doing life, of earning a living, so to speak, and of earning negotiable value, which we call money. I consider money a proxy of value. You are the value. I am the value. We create value. Now, are we in the habit of retaining that value? No. Okay. Are we even in a habit of recognizing our own value? No. Okay. So what a surprise when the universe gives you crap when we've been thinking and behaving crappily all, most of the
Yeah.
time. Okay.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
what I love about the cooperative system, and I'll say it right now, and it's Co-op 20. It's others. This guy has created several pools, all based on cooperation. And so, therefore, while we tend to uh, put money into something and then let the money do the work, and we stay with our crappy ways of thinking where we don't care about anyone else. Just show me the money. I don't care if someone else loses as long as I'm winning. We stay in a dynamic of winners and losers, and we also stay in a consciousness of being separate from each other, because if someone, in quotes, is winning, now they're on guard against those who are losers, who might want to take theirs from them.
I want
That's
everyone to win.
that's
Everyone.
exactly. So that's
Every
the
human,
bondage.
every plant, every animal. I want them all to win.
Well, in so doing, you are reducing the friction, because we are reducing the need. It's not the
Yeah.
money. I have been revising the Bible here and there where they say the love of money is the root of all evil. I said, no, it's not the love
Yeah.
of money. It's the need. It's not even the need for money. It's simply need itself. We are beings, we are creators. The only thing that is really unnatural to us is need.
Yeah.
So if we're being ourselves, which includes being loving, we are magnets for the things that we desire, and our cup runneth over. And so you have, if we have someone, or if we are experiencing need, first of all, you activate that love thing where you treat yourself the way you want to be others to treat you. That starts to train them, because the whole universe will reconstruct itself to do just the way you are setting. That's the creator being that we are. The
That's
other
right.
part that includes, though, see, because when you do that, you're changing everything. You're not simply right now. If you just show me the money kind of mentality, then we're oblivious to all of these other factors. So, but through this cooperative system, we literally, it does not pay unless you are exercising your love. Unless you are it operates under the golden rule, and you take some amount, $67, something like that, and you join. You take $67 and deposit it in the system, and you will receive 3 tokens, $20 tokens. So you get 3 of them to start. And essentially you have a conversation like you and I are having right now with other people. And when you have 3 people who have done what I've done, who've done what you've done, every time they get a wallet, they get a crypto wallet, and it's a private crypto wallet that you put the funds in, and funds will come back to you. And so the co-op and the system itself, the central piece is that crypto wallet, but the system itself is distributing liquid assets. That's all it does. Every 28 days, it's sending assets from one member to the other. When you join, the system is totally liquid and totally now. So, for example, the funds that you bring to the platform, you will send to 6 people, the person that invited you and 5 others. However, when you get the tokens, when you begin inviting your 3, when they come in, they are doing the same thing. They're bringing new liquidity in, which the system redistributes to you plus 5 others. Okay. Now, when you invite these, you're now creating your circuit of return. Okay. So the 3 that you invite, now you've got a circuit of return from 3 people. You put in, but now those 3 are going to send something to you and 5 others every 28 days. Now, the thing about it, when you got your 3, you will have received enough that you don't come out of your pocket at all anymore. You do it, you put in one time, and you will receive more than enough to cover your every 28-day, your 28-day deposit out, okay, disbursement. Now, the thing about it, okay, now you've invited 3. So their first step is they're inviting 3. And then next happens, that becomes 9. So now you have 3 people plus 9 more that are now putting in, and now they're starting to receive. What will happen is that you give to 6 so that you can receive from 6 tiers of others. And each tier is 3 times greater than the one before. So your first tier is 3. Your second tier is 9. Your third tier is 27, and then 81, and then 243, and then 729. So, and all of those will be directed back to your wallet, and every 28 days, you're getting something from, so it's 1,092 total in this particular, I call it the baby pool, because he originated a larger one, which is a 3x10. And quite frankly, what it can return is outside of what most people have conceived is even possible. And see, if you haven't conceived the possibility of something, it's not available to you. You're not going to embrace it. You're not going to be moved on it. And so when I realized most people on this planet are in this position of need, and yet they were not really responding to this amazing system that's sitting right here. It has to do with consciousness. And and that is actually what prompted me to create the map of consciousness. Okay.
It's all connected. I love that word.
So
I saw that and it just resonated with my heart. So pure.
Well, so I'm going to be doing a talk on the map of consciousness, but I'm also going to be doing a talk on this cooperative system, because quite frankly, again, most people have not placed any real consequence on being unloving, because if they understood this, if they understood, excuse me, what it meant, they correct themselves. They wouldn't put out. You don't put something out that you don't want to see come back to you, because it's going to.
Yeah.
Okay. And it may come back in the form of keeping something you really want just out of reach. Okay. And that's an emptiness. You start talking about the sadness when people, get to the end of this particular chapter of life and all the regrets and everything else. A lot of it has to do with crap that they said to each other, the things that they did that was mindlessly. Life is actually very logical. And if people haven't come to see the logic of life, then it becomes paradoxical to them. But what that basically means is there's some connections you still haven't made that you need to see. And one of the connections is the idea that our bodies are our physicality. They're not. If the idea that death is a state that actually exists, it does not. Consciousness is a continuum. Life is a continuum that death is not, it doesn't apply. So if there were, that really helped me one day some years ago when I stopped and let's turn something around and say, well, gee, if there was no death, people thought, trying to talk about death and, it's like it's the worst thing since, death. But what if there wasn't? What if we just had these bodies, we had showed up here, and no matter what we did, what anyone did to each other, they just bounced up, bounced back, whatever, and nothing affected anything else. Then you got a problem. Okay. The point, basically, you have no reason to change consciousness. You have no reason for regeneration. You have no, and in fact, I mean, since these are simply objects that exist within an information field, our consciousness is an information field that the body is actually inside of. We think that the body is everything and the brain is this, that, and the other. No, it's not. The brain is simply a transceiver, and we're able to get, no one can see thoughts, but the brain can actually detect them based on the consciousness, where we tend to hang out in our consciousness. The brain picks up things that we are susceptible to, may for the good or otherwise. And it's up to us to choose what to give energy to and what to give significance and meaning to. And so someone gets a whole, I'm going to say, head start sometime in programming the human mind early in life because of our habits, things that we've habituated, we've seen others do, or we've had the idea suggested to us either by institutions, suggested to us by our education system, and then also suggested to us by movies and advertisements and everything else. And if people are not taking the opportunity and time to enrich themselves and to seek their own counsel of their own volition, then they're going to be essentially organic automatons. They're going to be like robots.
Yeah,
And we see a
absolutely.
lot of that happening. So,
And
yeah.
that's something I had to do, is reprogram everything I was raised with. And I did that through self insight, and I took leadership training programs, Landmark Leadership Training Programs, which is a global company that teaches leadership and how to look inside, take off the mask of what we've been programmed for, and express our true nature. And that was 7 years ago in Vancouver. I did that, and since then my life has just become this blessing, and I lead with love, and it's brought me to this point where now everyone that I know interacts with me. They come to me for assistance and help and guidance and advice. I'm only 38. I don't have a whole lot of life years wise, but I have a lot of experience to share, and I feel like I'm just starting to learn truly how to learn how to live at this point. I tell my partner all the time, I feel like I'm 20 years old and just come out of high school, ready to go into university. I'm getting that second chance because I've done the self-care, I've done the self-work, and now it's rewarding me in kind. Those thoughts, that consciousness, it's showing itself in my dreams, in my dream journals, where I'm winning millions of dollars, and I'm building resorts with Joe Rogan in tropical places, and I'm flying through space and building empires and fighting demons and killing off evil throughout the world, and it's all highly detailed, and it's all through the power of love. And I have people that are dreaming about me, and it's showing me like this: you're doing the work, and you're going to be rewarded for it, and it's coming back, and I'm putting it out every day. I'm putting out more and more and more and more. Like, I was so close to death quite a few times in my life. I was really close to not being here, and every time I come back stronger, more resilient, more full of love and light. And it resonates to those around me, and people come to me all the time for that help and assistance. So the big picture is what I look at it. How does my life affect me, and how do I make an impact on my family, my children, my partner, my blood family, plus my global family? That's how I look at things, and how do I make an impact and make a change and present that and help push that edge, that manila envelope, and open it so that it can help everybody on this planet. And I'm always weaving people together, networking, trying to bring people together. And that's how I got to this point. If I may, do you mind if I read a bit of my dream here?
Sure.
From a year and a half ago.
Okay.
So you're part of the One Earth and all that with Shonda and all the peace unity movement that's happening in Vancouver next week, right?
Yep.
I had this dream. I'll just read a part of it because some of it gets kind of personal, but
Mhm.
the first part of it is this was Sunday, April 3rd, 2022. Sorry. So the dream, it's a vague memory now, but the gist of it is I planted the idea seed, which turned into a worldwide rally festival of freedom. Simply put, I had an idea. I shared it with the right people. Next thing I knew, I had a massive event happening globally, and there were thousands of people attending it. Each event had thousands of people, and there was all these events all over the world.
Mhm.
I was like, I was at one location, and I was watching all the live streams from all around the world
Okay.
while I was managing this festival
All right.
that I was at. I knew I knew I had a massive event happening and there were thousands of people attending it. It had all sorts of contributors, events, speeches, music. It was in essence a turning point of my life. And then it goes on quite a lot further, and there's a bunch more dreams like that. But that was a year and a half ago, basically, April 3rd last year. And I didn't know about this movement until 2 months ago. It's literally what I've been dreaming about. I
Excellent.
know it. And that was me
Excellent.
doing the self work. And that was my dreams confirming, hey, you're doing this. Keep going. You're going to find the ticket through. And here we are. And now I'm doing my best to get to Vancouver by Friday to be part of this event. And
Well,
I got booked in on that 1 hour for next Monday.
see yourself there.
Yeah, I already do.
I'll tell you what, we're talking with Kyler Sintich. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Correct. Well done. Well
Okay.
done. Most people don't get that at all.
Oh,
Well
well,
done.
I attempted to do the best I can. I may butcher it, but it won't be
Not
by
at all. That was
accident.
perfect, actually.
Uh, I would like to see building your own store of wealth, uh, your own supply.
Yeah.
That is, it's no one's going to give it to you, or if it is, it's going to be framed by the limits of their thinking.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm
And
doing is I'm building my own everything. I want to have multiple businesses all run under one hub
sure.
of my own creation.
So here, should you join and use this cooperative system,
I will
what
be.
you're going to create is a stream of income, a stream of income that will continue. It'll be an ongoing flow of income. It's like you can look at
Perfect.
your balance now, and you come back in another hour or next day, and it's more and it's more. It doesn't stop. Now, this is independent of your business activity.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
simply have a store of income. You have a flow of income you create. You put the little amount in, and you invite the three people, and you also have to help them invite so we are helping each to succeed
Yes.
in doing the
Yes.
same thing
Yes.
that we
Yes.
did. But when we do this, you're getting receipt immediately. Every time someone deposits, you receive, 5 other people receive, etc. And so you're getting immediate positive feedback, and the funds are yours to use whatever you want, to do whatever you want. So you're literally creating a flow of income, and your quote unquote business activity is whatever you decide it is, whenever you decide it is. Your flow, your income itself. That is a shift in paradigm that that does not exist except for bankers. Okay. So I tell you what, if you have a couple more minutes, I need to take a 2-minute
do.
again, and otherwise, and
Yeah, I do too.
we do phase 3. Okay. Be right back.
I'll be right back. Yeah,
Okay.
me too.
Thank you. Let's see here. We do. Oh, I can think again. There he is. So I can actually see my video playing in my other screen. So that's good while Kyler comes back. But you start to see through cooperation, we can change quite a bit, but it definitely represents a paradigm shift. It's not based on people losing or someone to lose for someone else to gain. It's basically based on everyone gaining, and that is fundamentally different. On the side here, while I'm waiting for Kyra to return, I actually had something else I was going to do. I'll do it here. Let me click on this. The developer of the cooperative system, his name is David Rosen, and I'm looking at the playback here, and I see that part of my mouth went away, but the audio didn't, because I know that my voice is being picked up. So what I'm starting right now, gosh, it's 26 minutes in, but I'm going to record whatever David's was saying. Be right with you here.
Yep.
Uh,
I got my headphones on so I can hear you, but I'm just gonna
Go ahead. All right.
Your business, and you help them get their 3, you become a qualified member.
Okay, they're playing. What they're doing is playing a. I have a computer over here. Okay, go ahead. And all right. Well, now that I see what that is, oh darn. There we go. Okay. All right. Well, you'll pass through this. This won't last that long. We'll finish up and leave you to the rest of your day. I thank you for watching. I hope you find this conversation interesting. It's fascinating to me. I'm talking to the viewers here, but it's fascinating to me. Much of my life, I've been well, I have no religious affiliations. I had a religious upbringing as a child, so I went to school, not to school. I went Sunday school, but I was in church. I served in church. I was an usher and stuff like that. But as soon as I got on my own, I had no interest in that. And relative to religion, I still don't. Okay. However, I find, and I have no problem using certain well-known passages in the Bible that this method speaks to. Okay. For example, wherever 2 or more are gathered in my name, there I am. Well, here are you and I, we're starting something. There's two, and there's more. In the cooperative system itself, at minimum, you need 3 people. I have a so there's the power of 3. I did a whole video talking about the power of 3s. And so you look at sacred geometry, you look at the replication, you look at 3s, 6s, and 9s, as Tesla used to talk about. And so what are you doing? You got to invite 3 people, and then you also help them, those 3 people, to invite their 3. So you're succeeding on your own. You're doing this because you've made a decision to do it. And then the next step is you help someone else who has made that decision. And when I say help, it means you give them advice, you show them how, you tell them you can say what the guidelines are, and you
Lead
stick
by
with it.
example.
Exactly. You be what it is you want someone to be to you.
How I live my life.
Exactly. So you got all that happening, but then that gets you 3, and then that gets you 9 more when you help those 3 to succeed. So 3 times 3 from the original. So now you've got 12 who are now connected to your wallet. And when those new 9 start putting their invitations out, because now they know how, they've had a positive experience. The people that you invited, that those 3, every time their 3 gets it, each one of them are getting returns. The payments happen automatically and like right away. Those funds are available to you
Honey.
the
Yeah.
the same day or the next day. And so you're getting positive feedback. Your spirits can't do anything else. Your confidence can't do anything else but start going up when you start seeing your coffers start to build. And so, and then as time goes on, now there's 27 that are doing the same thing that we did. And every time they open up their wallet, because they're getting a they're getting a co-op wallet. Everyone has a co-op wallet. The co-op wallet is the center of the co-op network. Okay. And so I'm Adam, by the way, hello. So when you start seeing that to grow and to build on its own, spirit's going to go up. We want to change the world. We can't change the world by being depressed and anxious about the future. Or, excuse me, it's not even about the future. It's really about the now. So when your funds start coming in and you see it and you're building and building and building, your now is changed, and your spirits are being changed in that now. But you had to be willing to make the decision beforehand. So those are things that I'm seeing, and everything that happens and can happen for me can happen for you. It can happen for everyone who does those things, because those activities, while there's some money put in to start it, how much you have is meaningless to the system. It is a total egalitarian system, so everyone does the same thing. What we consider negotiable asset value in the terms of those crypto coins, or that crypto value, is the secondary gain, the secondary benefit. You got people who are searching for money and their consciousness is where it is, and they have no compunction to change that. So, and because money itself has very little consciousness, and in fact, you might say it's a downward spiraling consciousness, then if you're tethered to money, your consciousness is tethered to it too, and now you're up to the peaks and valleys, but no stability. So here is a system where everyone is treated the same. The system automatically redistributes this liquidity. You got people who are quote unquote millionaires on paper, but they can't slap together a few $100,000 or $1,000 in, because it's all in stuff. So
I joke people say all the time, and
oh, you got to put that. I can hear you, but you're not coming up too well. Try it again.
I jokingly say all the time that I'm a bazillionaire because I believe that the money is already there. It's coming. It's just I'm working my way the easiest route through to it, and my dreams confirm that. In my dreams, I'm finding pallets of money, and I'm winning lotteries of millions of dollars, and I'm finding golden pyramids full of golden statues. And owning mining operations, and I'm owning ski hills, and I'm owning all this stuff, and the money's there. I know it is. Like, money is just an energy, and I'm putting it out there, and it's coming back to me energetically, and I know it's presenting itself, and that's how we got to this point.
It is true. I mean, that's a profound truth. because you have imagined it, you do imagine it, and ergo, you have created it. It exists. The thing about it here is that we have come to marginalize and be skeptical of our most powerful aspect, and that's our imagination. So what we do, our imagination, if you look at television programming, if you look at the movies, if you look at the stories that people are telling you, and they want to tell you this is real, this is real. They are saying, they have to tell you it's real. Why? Because it really is not. Okay. In the terms of, so if they got to tell you this, oh yeah, you got to be listening to this. It's simply because they need us more than we need them. Okay. Their need is greater than ours. Especially, and the whole deal here is that we have been trained to be in need. Need is not natural or normal to who and what we are. If we understood that we are infinite beings that live in an infinite universe, infinite supply, and infinite possibility. So what we're experiencing right now is part of the infinite. But it's not all there is. If we're convinced that there's nothing else, then we are the limiter. And when we convinced ourselves, it's not that we convince ourselves that it's okay not to love. We've simply been experiencing the effects of heartless thinking. Okay. And we repeat that until we choose, well, I'm not going to do this anymore. People are trying to wonder if we're going to, how to stop war. Well, excuse me, if you realize, one, there's no death. Second, that this is we are a one thing. We are a part of a one, anything that I do to someone else, I do to myself. When you understand those things, well, you know, I'm not going to go pick a fight with these folks. The fact is, there's no death. I can go through the motions of killing and everything else, and then we are all sad and sorry, and we are doing all this memory and stuff for all of that. But ultimately, we've traumatized consciousness. That we've done. That is a distortion in consciousness that's distorted the information streams. It's dimmed our lights. It's diffused it. And in many, many ways, it's created an artificial disconnection. There is no disconnection, but there's a reduction in the function. There's a reduction in the awareness of that connectivity. So when you know you're connected to everything, and you also begin to imagine profusely wonderful things, just like you do, just like I do. It's not only that I want it for myself, I want it for everyone. Okay.
Everyone, to me, it's every part, every mind, every living thing deserves that.
Yes. And again, either when you get away from your ears or something, I hear some of what you're saying. So I kind of get it.
My microphone, I need to fix my microphone.
Okay, now we're good.
Can you hear me as I'm closer? Yeah.
Oh, this is good.
Sorry. Yeah, I believe in everything, every life form, every single thing that is alive deserves the best, deserves full life of health. Whether it's bacteria or a virus or whatever, it's all part of the system that is the package deal of what makes the world go round and the universe complete. All part of it. It has to be in balance. It's out of balance right now. We're coming into that shift from going from a pendulum swing to a balanced forward steady momentum, which is what we're going into as we enter the age of Aquarius. It's that truth of we are all one, we're all connected, and we're all have the ability to help each other out on a massive scale.
Well, the cool thing here, you could say that we are universes unto ourselves, and all consciousness, everything is conscious, life is conscious, there is awareness, there's sentience, there's intelligence in all of life. Now, within consciousness itself, there are degrees. I mean, I have cats, we have bugs, etc. You know, so there are degrees of consciousness, but you and myself and anyone that is watching this video when the time comes to this conversation, we have the ability to, I'm going to say, direct reality. We have the ability to change how experience is drawn to us. We can change the magnetics of experience itself. And by the use of the words, or through the use, not by, but through the use of the words, I am, first of all. When you say I am, it is. And it doesn't matter whether it's beneficial or not. What matters in terms of its benefit or detriment has to do with literally the polarity of your own consciousness, as well as the bandwidth. The more we know that we are part of a whole, that's the widening of the bandwidth of our consciousness. That's the interconnectedness. That's the difference between a person who comes into an unfamiliar situation and they shoot first and ask questions later, okay?
Yeah.
Or having someone come into a situation which may appear on the surface dangerous, but who have the fortitude within themselves, the self-knowing and the love to simply be. And essentially, you start talking about, get back to the Bible, where Daniel can sit down with the lion and, have a latte. Then this is about getting to that place within yourself, because when you are in that place, in that loving place, other animals, so to speak, other life forms, they recognize it, they know it, and they respect it. It's just like cats. We have these two cats and they follow me anywhere now,
Yeah.
Because it's one of the best places in their world and their life that they could ever be. It's in my lap, in my home. You talk about safe. That's what we're talking about. So I want to include that's peacefulness, and I want to include prosperity, not just for myself. I feel prosperous already, and I'm not having all of that happen. But I love the idea of people doing just what you're doing right now. We having this conversation. I will and can if you decide to want to do this, and I can't imagine you're not, but if you want to and where you're ready, that I would show you how, get you going. But then we want to see and picture this scene being replicated. I can tell you so many stories about people in different parts of the world, not just here in the States, but in different parts of the world. This system, this modality is available to everyone. And they're diverting just a little bit of funds. Maybe for some, in some places is a lot, but bottom line is still accessible and doable. And then inviting three, but they are basically endeavoring to have flows come into themselves, and it's literally changing their lives. And so as we talk more about this and you get more acquainted, they have another or more original pool that's a 3x10. And the basic principles are the same thing. You invite three, you get different tokens for that one, but you invite three and you help them get three, and now you're qualified in that one. In this, you get qualified. And the cool thing is that the principle is the same. You can create a flow with this, what I call this, the baby pool, the co-op 20 pool. But in it, you can be receiving thousands and tens of thousands in crypto value. I call it negotiable value, asset value. Every 28 days, it repeats on a 28-day cycle. And if we do it properly, and I feel properly, I feel this is the way to present it. I've been in the system for a year, but I refuse to present in the consciousness of the way it's done. The guy made it, and I have no judgment on consciousness. Most consciousness of most people, because we've had no other options, has been a win-lose situation, have not situation. Okay, so either you think you have or you don't, or where it's greater or lesser situation where the people who have more money to throw in, well, they may have more to lose, they have more to gain, but there's no egalitarian situation here. This is a totally different consciousness. And so to me, this is a spiritual activity, because spirit encompasses everything. Okay, it's not either spirit or not, it's both and so spirit encompasses everything. And so when you do this and we help each other from that in that spirit and from that spirit, then we affect all aspects of our life, not just our monetary, because again, the monetary is a secondary gain. We start reducing stresses in our minds about different things, because infrastructures are being built today, they exist today, where we can buy products, we can do anything we want using cryptos, and we don't even need dollars. Okay, and the cryptos will translate to any place on the planet, as long as a person has a phone or something where they can put a crypto wallet on. The funds that accrue from your inviting people accrue back to your co-op wallet. That co-op wallet is encrypted. It's a blockchain-based wallet. It's protected. It's yours. And when you join, you get it. You know, you don't have to pay for it, but it will receive. So you'll put the funds into this, and then when people join, the co-op system connects their wallet that they create to your wallet. And I've got a video of Elon Musk talking about how when he created or he was involved in PayPal, and what did they do? They were giving out money, $20 in the beginning, and they said if you he said 2 or 3 people, he said ideally 3 people. He said it was starting to grow like petri dishes. And in a short period of time, they had 100,000 users who had their wallet. And now PayPal has over 500 million users with their wallets, with the PayPal accounts. They also created Cash App. So they are the parent company, I believe, of Cash App or Venmo, one of those. I think it's one of them. And they have some number of millions of wallets. So these companies began the pressures on the banking system. People aren't giving them credit, but because I had a PayPal account in the 1990s. And so when you look at 500 million people from PayPal alone who have anywhere from a few dollars to thousands and thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in their co-op, in their PayPal account, those funds are not in a bank. And so that becomes liquidity to PayPal, and PayPal also becomes a central authority, because they start to be able to tell you if you get your money or not, or if they're going to give it to you. Okay. And see, other companies are doing the same thing. Shopify, they have their own, I got a debit card with them when I process products through my e-commerce site. So they're setting up. These are all funds that are now sitting someplace else and not on a bank. So what we're basically doing by getting joining co-op and having a co-op wallet is we are following the same practice. If you notice where many companies are now setting up, they're inviting you to do what? To sign up on an auto pay thing. They'll give you an incentive to get to pay that way. If you don't have funds in your account, you oftentimes are still going to pay, depending on what it is. You're just going to go in the red. But what are they doing? They're creating a predictable flow of income for them. With the co-op system, you are creating a predictable flow of income. See, that's income for them is outgo for you and me. All right. So what you're doing is the same thing that they will be doing, is creating a predictable ongoing flow of income for you that will far, far exceed what you're putting out. this is how we change things in a real possible way now. So,
I would really love to share something with you. Since we're
all right, make certain I can hear you.
I would really like to share something with you.
Go
if
ahead.
You may. Okay.
Okay,
It's another one of my dreams.
okay,
This was, since we're talking about finances,
okay.
this is one I don't share with many people, but I'm beginning to learn the power of me speaking my dreams out. It's coming back at me.
Yes,
And in the lot, this is from a Saturday, March 26, 2022. But in the last few months, I've had many dreams about company. This is from 1.5 years ago, basically. This is my very first time actually starting to do it. It hit me so quick. I wake up and just like it was like I just woke up, walked out of the computer.
okay. Make certain you're close to that mic. I want people to hear this. Go.
Okay. Saturday, March 26, 2022. Dream journal number 1 at 11:27 a.m. 11 is my lucky number. 27 is my lucky number. 27th is my birthday. I use those numbers all the time to bring in my energy well.
Yep.
So this dream came to me in 2 parts. The first a few days ago, and then this morning. The first part of the dream, I was in a contest put on by an airlines company. The winnings were in excess of millions, but I cannot recall how much. And special flying privileges were presented. In the original dream, there were many people involved. There were a bunch of planes that left Kelowna. I think it was the Kelowna airport, which is like 20 minutes from here. It's an international airport for the interior of British Columbia for Western Canada, outside of Vancouver. One after another, and one of them was to drop a special card that we had to find, kind of like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where was I? There were all sorts of conditions around finding it as well. So I followed the rules closely and watched the planes enthusiastically to catch a glimpse of the fallen card. We just moved into this place. We were just down from the Vernon local airport, and we're watching the planes go all the time.
Okay.
I wanted to be a pilot when I was a teenager. I wanted to become like a first commercial pilot. Well, I got it. And at least I initially thought I did. It was a bit chaotic, and so many people in many different ways were searching some, and some not so nicely. They were nefarious in their ways. Though I was certain I had found it initially, I became questionable of it as the day went on, hearing stories about others winning, losing my transport, losing my own IDs, and in general having a difficult time getting back to the airport to report it. And that was the end of dream part 1. And then I have a little sub note. As with most of my dreams, they're left fairly open-ended, and very rarely do I return to a dream, especially an extension to said dream. So on to part 2, which is a couple of days later. As I entered this dream, I was living along the waterfront of what I figure is Okanagan Lake. Okanagan Lake's the main lake in the Okanagan Valley here, which is like 4 kilometers west of me here.
Okay.
It was a beautiful place both to live and in that part of my life. It was a beautiful part of my life. For some reason, I chose to move to a less enjoyable location further in town. Then one morning, I remembered. Then excuse me. Well, I need to take some water. Just a second.
Yeah.
So I moved to a location further in town. It was fine though. I could sense I was less happy. Then one morning, I remembered about the contest I was in. Maybe only a few days later, as there were still people still actively searching. So I gather all my cards, IDs, credit cards, etc. I don't have a credit card right now. I could care less about
You don't want one. Yeah.
The credit cards that I needed as proof of who I am.
Mhm.
Still finding it challenging to return to the airport, I persevered through traffic, construction, and people. As I became more confident that I had in fact won, it became more difficult to get to the airport. I mostly had to avoid people either just wanting to talk, but some actively attempting to stop me from winning. As I approached the airport, I could see many people still searching the area. I felt the urgency to get there, but I also realized I had to be cautious. I eventually made it through the gauntlet of construction into the airport. In the airport, it was very busy, business meetings and more construction. Plus, it felt like the airport was closing for the day and there was a deadline to the prize. Eventually, I made it through all the many doors to claiming my prize winnings, and I got my information to the claims office. They had to cross-check all the information for correctness. I could sense my impending winnings. It took a while for them to check the information. As I anxiously and patiently waited, people, the workers, began preparing and celebrating me, albeit unofficially. So I went for a walk to calm myself down. When I returned, a beautiful, official-looking woman, blonde and in a white dress, asked me to come with her. As I followed, I could sense a tension of winning. I ran enthusiastically and interferingly through a business meeting. I Superman jumped through over a business table, like a 40-foot table. And crowds of people that had gathered and some very sexy ladies, obviously attempting to get my attention. The official woman led me into a private office. I kept asking if I had won, but she would not comment. Finally, I got to a private space, asking once again, did I win? She looks at me with a smile and happily announces, yes, you won.
Mhm.
I was overwhelmed with joy. I jumped and cheered and I was so damn excited. My last question was, how much did I win? And before she could answer, I woke up. Very happy feeling, I might add.
Yes, that feeling was the important thing.
Yes.
And it's fascinating when you asked the question, I knew what her answer was. So I laughed as because people do that. People will ask you, they'll ask me, well, how much have you made in this thing? And I tell them, I said, you know, what I make don't mean diddly to this, not only to you, but to the way this thing works. It's not about how much you've made. It's about what connections are you making, first of all.
Yes.
And in my regard, because I could see the cycle of this system working, I could see it all the way through to fruition. I began to see literally what the effects would be, the end result. I don't know if you're familiar with Neville Goddard and his teachings. Oh my goodness, that's another wonderful teacher. But he talks about imagine use of the imagination. But one thing, imagine the goal already realized. You go into the feeling of the realized activity or the realized idea that you're seeking to create, and essentially that you're seeking to experience, in fact. And so what you were doing was in the feeling of the realized experience. And so how it shows up and when it shows up is frankly is it's also up to you. But the up to you had to begin with you doing what you did, having those dreams, having those ideas. And like I said, when I saw how few people were excited like I was at the possibility, or how few people cared, I get excited. What I want for myself, I want for others. What I want for others, I want for myself.
Wow.
So I'm not really wanting disease. I'm not wanting despair. I'm not wanting to be critical or blaming of someone else as the cause of my problems, so to speak. You got to own your own. You got to own your crap. In addition to all the good stuff, we have the ability to blame someone else when it's not convenient or flattering to us to acknowledge something and harm that we've done. So when we get to a place where we're not running away from seeing ourselves, that's when we have a choice and a chance to become ourselves. And that's the whole issue. That's the map of consciousness. The issue of the map of consciousness, the consciousness of consciousness, is authenticity. It's becoming yourself, the one you wanted to be all along, and you haven't been. We just haven't valued that.
It's a good book,
So what I'm thinking, what I'd like to do when you're ready, or you tell me, because I can do, we can do first of all a Zoom, and I can show you the co-op back office and stuff, and show you what's involved there. There are some videos. In fact, David Rosen is doing a Zoom call now, so I'm not recording it. It will be recorded. And I found a demo yesterday of the Co-op 20 system. So I haven't watched it through, but I'm going to look it over, and I'm planning on making a little video, either with my own voice or put that part in. But again, all of the stuff that's around the system in terms of describing it, this conversation that you and we are having, they don't do. They're in the consciousness that most people are in. And I realized that if you're in that consciousness, people are going to evaluate it in that consciousness too. And that's why, and because it's outside of their belief of something possible, or outside of them being able to see how it can be, and also our habits of not having enough faith in ourselves. I joined this thing about a year ago in the bigger system, the co-op with the 3x10, and because I have enough confidence in myself, I've stayed active. So I put funds in to stay active. Okay, but I still, in spite of staying active, I refuse to. I can't present. Won't. It's not me to talk about money as being the answer to stuff. Now it is me to figure out ways, even with with my water system. As more people embrace this cooperative system, they can begin to afford these things. Our vortex unit here. That here it is. We have I probably pulled this up in the meeting. This one here. This one's got the rose quartz spheres in. So the regular ones have a black paint job. And so they have glass spheres in, so they're making the same kind of vortex. But we took the steps to find sources that we could mill rose quartz so that we could put them in and replace the glass. So the glass is a certain type of transmissive glass, is 70 some odd percent quartz. And so this is rose quartz, but meaning it's 99.9% quartz. And so its signal is going to be more coherent, but but mostly, again, so this is $3,000. The regular one is 2,500. And now we got units for much larger sizes, much larger pipe, so we got 2-inch all the way up to 12-inch lines.
That's amazing. I used to do underground like water pipeline installation and stuff. Have heavy construction and environment. Stuff like that. I know what that's a lot of water.
Well, yeah, we have a customer in Idaho that has a 10-inch line. He runs 2,500 gallons a minute through it. I forgot, 1,600 acres and 5,000 head of cattle. And they're grazing. So he's growing grass for his cattle, for example. And that unit is in its 8th or 9th year now. And so the 2,500 gallons are then split off to 2 pivots that receive 1,000 gallons apiece. And we had he was one of my first, definitely one of my first, or maybe my first large installation. And then, but he also has had a lot of events, so to speak, to kind of show the difference. And there was another farmer in New Zealand who has 4 of our units, 3 on an 8-inch lines and 1 on 6-inch line. And one of the first things he noticed after installing the units, as his son and he and his son were talking in the pump room, in his pump house, and they could hear each other, which normally was not the case. The pumps were running and making so much noise, they couldn't hear each other. So that prompted him to go and look at the meter for his electricity, because normally it was drawing 32 amps to run those pumps. And it was humming along at 27 amps. So he cut down the amount of amperage, so that means longer is less work. That's talking about the reduced friction, so to speak. Well, I talked about cellular uptake, greater penetration and everything else. It's the same type of thing. It's more efficiency. It's a better state of water. That's the wetter water. So if that water is in that state on its own, when it enters the plant, less energy is required, and also it's delivering more nutrients into the plant too. So you got more, and because the surface tension is lower, and because the cluster sizes are smaller, you have more water getting into the plant. That is also high motility, more nourishment getting into the plant. So you get plants growing faster, maturing faster, generating more food that is, or produce that is more nutrient dense. I mean, you get all that stuff happening, and it's the same thing as for elimination, getting through a blood-brain barrier. You first, it's getting in, and it's also able to take out the crap that, because of surface tension and other things, they accumulate. They tend to accumulate. I can't tell you how many customers who have put these units on their homes, and after a period of time, they get a dump of gook and stuff that comes out, which was sitting in the pipes sometimes for years. And now, because this water is penetrating and everything else, it breaks that stuff up. Now it comes out.
A question to you. One, does it alkalize the water?
I wouldn't say alkalize from one water source to the next. See, that's the thing. You got the state that water is in. In some case, it tends to balance from that, from a pH standpoint. So in some cases, pH is coming down. In some cases, pH is coming up. The other thing, though, is that water, like life, is intelligent.
Yes.
And water has the capacity. See, we're ready to turn over the rulership of the world to artificial intelligence, and yet not acknowledge the intelligence of life itself and all of its components. And so we see in some cases that a pH, for example, is around 6 point this and 6 point that, which turns out to be optimal for the condition that is needed. We have in other cases where it's something else. Ultimately, not only the water, but our immune system itself has the ability of self-regulation, and it can put the pH to what it needs to be, where it needs to be. Okay. So go ahead.
I'm agreeing with you.
So, but see, generally, until it's stated, people don't think of that stuff. Until you ask the question, and I'm thinking, I don't think about it. I simply know it, but I hadn't expressed it like that. You see?
So my experience with my water system was like, for my own health, the alkalinity is very, very important. It reduces the acid reflux.
Of course.
I grew up on a cattle farm on a well system. I have parasites in because of that. That's the main cause of my digestive.
Yeah, get closer to that mic. I can understand what you're saying, but I want someone that's watching here that's good. Go.
Growing up on a cattle farm, surrounded by shit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had a water well drilling. That was what we fed until we transitioned it onto city water. Regardless, I have parasites in me. That's what's caused my chronic pancreatic conditions that almost killed me. And it wasn't until I started finding my sister bought this weekend water filtration system that alkalizes the water naturally, like a bio mimics the natural flow filtration of water through the mountains. That's what healed my body. So as for a human, alkalizing the body, diseases don't stick to an alkaline environment. Cancer can't survive. The viruses can't stick on. Bacteria that's negligent to our health can't adhere and stick. They get flushed out, basically.
Yes.
Plants, they need the root environment, needs an acidic environment to properly absorb all the nutrition. I used to grow cannabis on a large scale, and if you have pH imbalance that is way off, those plants cannot thrive. But it's also an oxygen environment. It's got to have that balance, and that's what you've designed in a toroidal system is ancient Japanese fountain technology, where they introduce oxygen by the way they design their fountain systems to keep optimum health.
Yeah,
put that back into play. Technology with an old ancient knowledge now. So I see the extreme value of that, how that can impact systems. When I was going through all my health issues, I was also trying to build an aquaponics business. You know what aquaponics is?
Yep. We have some customers.
Yeah. And that is still a dream of mine. I would love to do that because I grew up cattle farming, but I cannot consume meats because of all the parasites that are in me from that. Well, fish is okay. And I love my plants. My plants have healed my life. I'm here because I turned to a plant-based diet. What aquaponics provides is a system that can provide healthy water, healthy plants, healthy fish to people for protein if that's what they're choosing, to healthy environments. And if it's cyclical, it's recycling itself. And if we're going to introduce those into aquaponic systems in this Okanagan Valley, we can feed the people. And that's a dream of mine, is to feed the people, because that's where our health we are what we eat. Socrates says, let thy food be thy medicine.
And your medicine be thy food. Yeah.
Thank you for finishing that. But, yeah,
I totally agree with you. We're on the same page. And whenever I get back from hey there, whenever I get back from New Mexico, we're gonna take a little drive up and hang out some. That would be really kind of cool. I think,
this area.
yeah, that would be fun to do, and is nearby. You know, I mean, it's a 1,300-mile drive one way for me to get to where I've got to go next week. But those are the kinds of things. And if we, not I say if, you know, I've embraced this concept of cooperative value restoration, because, and retention. You see, we are the value, we create value, but our present normal practices involve converting that value into things or exchanging that value for services without retaining some value for ourselves. We put ourselves last, and therefore there's no mechanism for the return. And because a consciousness of our society is such that we don't associate any detriment or any real problem when we are less than loving in our activity, in our exchange, when we are in reduced respect and regard for each other. We don't, you know, it's like, if I got money, I don't have to respect you. That's an attitude. Okay.
I got pause a sec. I think I got a knock on my door.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So what we could,
My friend Gypsy's here. Come
oh,
on in, Gypsy. She's someone who will appreciate this, and actually she'll be able to time. So
well, you may have your first three almost there before you go.
I've got a big network. I want to introduce this.
Okay.
technology to.
All right.
Uh,
It's so funny with that map of consciousness, because like I said, when people weren't responding, the people that I was talking to, I would, even ones who would sit down with me and they have all kind of problems and issues with not enough money, and they still wouldn't try this. They wouldn't even be neutral in this. Oh, I think I'll keep doing this. But see, what they were continuing was their negativity. See, we become blind to the negativity we put out, and life gives us back what we put out, period.
Yes.
You cannot succeed in this cooperative system being negative.
Yeah.
So that's what you got to be willing to give up, and that includes the negativity we have on ourselves.
And that's how I learned that myself through the University of Hard Knocks, now I'm going to call it, and now I teach that to everyone.
Cool. Well,
how I learned that.
when we start, you start seeing that stream build and build, and I mean, from our resonance with each other, you know, there's credit, we have the credibility, we're not negative, so to speak. When I listened to it in the first place, you know, I've lost money and all kinds of things, but I was still neutral to, well, what is this here now? It's not a point of what it was before. What is this? Okay. And
we keep moving forward. What's the lesson in that chapter?
Absolutely. So it turns out that this is an answer to a far, far larger issue, because the person, we can't figure we're going to have a better life because someone's going to make it better for us. We can't think that we're going to have a safer life because someone else is going to make it safer for us. These are delusions.
I'm doing this for myself, so I joke about this all the time. I'm going to have so much money that I'm going to pay for everything for everyone.
Well, see, the cool thing, when they start believing in themselves, they're going to thank you for your love. but
Yeah.
they're not going to need that. They're going to do it themselves too.
Exactly, exactly.
And that's the answer.
the essence of it. Thank you. Thank you
So,
so much for all this. This has been very valuable, and definitely I've been praying for you. Been praying for you. So
well, I'll tell you what I'd like to do is probably to set a time, let you visit with your friends, but set a time, and then I sent you the link. If you go ahead and just join, it doesn't cost anything to join.
yeah, I'm going to.
And then you can log in and look around and just get acquainted. And then when you're ready, just contact me, and then we go into how to fund it. You know, do you have a crypto wallet now?
No, I've attempted many times. I have friends who are deeply invested in the crypto.
Okay, all right.
My friend Gypsy here, her husband actually isn't deeply involved in crypto, so this
Okay.
is really very valuable.
Okay.
I've just got her on a plant-based lifestyle. Gypsy, how old are you again? 64, and I just got her on a plant-based lifestyle and get her on these water systems, and she's lost a whole bunch of weight, and her health and pain have just subsided.
Excellent, excellent.
Oh, sorry,
I got
her
a few
health has increased and her pain has subsided. That's what I was trying to say.
I got a few years around the sun more than Gypsy. I'm almost at my 72nd time.
70 seconds. 70 seconds.
But see, life is a continuum. All that matters when you start seeing life as a continuum, and you know there's no death, all that means is that when I'm done at whatever time with this, you know, it's just I get another form. I get a chance. We are tied to all the stories that we associate with the surface, with the exterior. And the truth is and all those limit our potential, but we are limitless.
Yes, yes. 100%.
So there you go. So yeah, so when you have a chance, or when I know you'll reach out to me, so I'm not concerned about that one way or
We're gonna be
another.
talking regularly now.
But when you're ready, then yeah, join and we fund, and then you start being ready to send your link to someone.
Yeah.
You can
I'm gonna-
invite more
I'm
than
gonna
3.
Signed up on your system today. We're gonna
Okay.
get that started.
Okay.
Talk to Aaron about it. We've already talked. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
We've moved
Okay.
forward on this, and yeah, my personal network is a couple thousand, but the people in my network and musicians and artists and stuff is in excess of tens of thousands. So
Man, we got a whole bunch of fun to have. Okay, so I'm looking forward to it. All right, man. Then I will go now. I got some design work to work on.
Yeah.
I thank you so much, and I will talk to you again soon, Skylar. Thank you so much. See ya.